boys, head out. Okay. They have mate down there. So it's like how they brew tea in a unique way. You like drink it out of a straw, and it's like it's kind of like a filtered tea. So let's see, did I get my toothbrush? Yes, I did. Whoa. Okay, let me close this. Okay, boys, let me see. Do I have my hat? I got my USA hat. Ba bang, ba boom. We're ready to rock and roll. Love you, hun. See you in.
Go USA!
I heard there's a lot of runners. Boys, high five. Red, white, and blue. Boom, boom. World
USA.
Mountain Running Championships. Here we come. Let's do it.
You're gonna.
Let's do it.
USA! All the way! Wow!
It's gonna be so fun. Bye, love you! Argentina, Argentina, Argentina. Here we go. Bye-bye, bye-bye. We made it to Denver International Airport. Let me just grab a parking ticket here. Hold on here. Okay, so let the 24 hours of travel begin from Denver to Dallas, Dallas to Argentina. And because I have this amount of time, 24 hours of just travel, hanging out in airports, I finally get a chance to answer your questions about running shoes, about training ideas, about racing tactics, nutrition, running injuries, all these different questions that you are asking. So I'm going to do my best to field as many of them as possible from Facebook, Snapchat, email, Twitter, all over the place. So it's going to be a longer vlog, but I'm going to do my best to dive into as many as possible, but still keep the depth there, because I don't just want to skim over them either. And what else was I going to say? Yes, hold on, let me just find a parking spot here. There we go, got a spot, okay. And yes, I am going to bring up the situation in a separate video about Nike. And yes, I'm wearing Nike gear right now, like Nike sponsors USA Track and Field. And so anyway, we're gonna hash it out, but I'm gonna do it in a separate video. I'll explain why once I get to Dallas. All right, so thank you for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. We're onward and upward. All right, I gotta go catch a plane. And we've made it through security. Okay, good news. My legs feel quite a bit better walking through the airport now compared to 2 weeks ago heading out to New York City. So I think I've recovered faster compared to after Amsterdam. So it's good news. All right, coffee time. Thank you so much. All right, everyone, let's dive in. They're calling the gate, so I gotta be a little expeditious here before going to Dallas. All right, here we go. This is from Jake. In search of some quick advice, I'm doing a road marathon in mid-December and my first 50K in late January, 6 weeks in between. Would it be a bad idea to race so close together, or is that far enough apart? Jake, I wouldn't make it a regular occurrence in your overall training schedule. And listen, I know I did Amsterdam and New York back to back, so it can be accomplished, but I'm a big proponent of large swaths of training, meaning 3, 4, 5 weeks of just training, no racing. Just so you can focus on building that aerobic base, making sure you stay healthy. And I think it's totally fine with that 6-week window. But again, I just wouldn't do it all the time in the calendar year. All right, so that's my answer there, Jake. I hope that helps. And moving on to another question real quick before I have to go grab my seat. let's see, this is from, actually, this is from YouTube, so I don't have a name. He asked, or she asked, quick question, do you have any stories of sacrifices with social life you have made to keep up with your running schedule? 100%. I was never like a big fan of going out and like getting drinks. Like I used to enjoy going to watch football games at a bar and get a couple beers. That hasn't happened in a long time, mostly because I'm so tired. And so that is one, like I'd go out with my buddies and we would go get a couple beers, but I will say this much. I'm about to take a break after this race in Argentina. During that, 5 to 10 day window of taking a break, I am going to seek out social events where I'm out there hanging out, having fun, maybe staying up a little later than I usually would, because I think it's important to walk that balance and to refuel yourself, not only physically, but mentally by just completely checking out from that. I don't want to call it a daily grind of running, but just that commitment that is amazing, that gift that we have as runners. But anyway, good question. I have had to sacrifice going out a little bit and getting drinks and watching football games and watching an entire football game. So instead, I would rather sit in my recliner and drink turmeric tea. All right, see you in Dallas. And we made it to Dallas. Just getting off the plane here. Thank you. Have a great day. Basically, next question is from Andrew. Andrew was wondering on the DeMoor Global Running Facebook group, what are some winter running hacks with respect to clothing, wind, just being able to train through the winter? One of my favorite hacks is cutting a buff. You know those buffs that I wear all the time? It hasn't been cold enough yet. Whoa. Hasn't been cold enough yet, but cut one of the buffs for like 2 to 3 inches thick, and then you can wrap that around your nose and around your entire head in order to keep your nose warm, but you can still breathe out of your mouth and out of your nose. So that's one of my winter running hacks. I'll try and show you how I do it at some point. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Lone Star State. We made it to the gate. We made it. All right, let's get to your questions. I got a big list here that I wrote down on the flight from Denver to Dallas, and then we're hopping on the plane to Argentina here in a minute. All right, let's go. Lots of questions rolling in. Thank you, and I am now caught up on email and Facebook, but Instagram is next, down to Argentina. Okay, let's roll. Let me just pull it up here. Okay. Question number 1, here we go. This is from Dominic, and Dominic is a newer runner. He's been running for about 1.5 years, and he's struggling with shin splints. Very common running injury, Dominic, especially early on in a running career. Just so you know, I've seen it pop up in rookie runners. I'm not saying you're a rookie, but newer runners that just their legs are not quite used to the pounding. So here we go. Dominic, I've only had shin splints once, I should say, and it's about 2 years ago, and how I dealt with it was a lot of self-massage, a lot of foam rolling, and a lot of tibialis anterior stretching. So there's a sheath that is wrapped around your muscle that's just a little too tight where you're having the pain next to your shin, and that sheath needs to be, I don't want to say broken down, but it needs to be loosened with massaging, stretching, and I'll just say like a hot tub. If you could put your leg in a hot tub and let the jet just kind of work on your leg a little bit, I found that to help as well when I was dealing with my shin splints about 2 years ago, and it took me about a month to get rid of it. Now I will say, Dominic, and everyone else, I did run through it. And okay, I should also mention all the running injuries that I'm going to talk about. I'm not a doctor, go see your doctor, but I am willing to share my advice, my experience, and I guess my advice, but my experience with you. I did run through it, and it did go away. Now you might have severe shin splints and you can't run through it. But anyway, just communicating that to you, and the tibialis anterior stretch is on your screen right now that I do, where you cross your leg over and then pull your foot toward your chest, and I found that to be a great stretch to just keep that sheath as loose as possible? Great question, Dominic. Thanks for watching. All right, next question is from Stefano over in Italy. He writes, I started running in March after playing football for many years and fell in love with it. So he's really new. Welcome, Stefano. That's like 6 months. I've been following you for a few months and I find your vlog interesting and I congratulate you for the recent results. He's training for his first marathon in March. Wow, that's amazing. Would you have some advice to give me for training to follow to prepare me better? I don't have a coach and I follow the tables found on the internet, Stefano. So, Stefano, I think, so let's work backward. If your race is in March, and depending when it is in March, that is February, January, December, November. So that's almost perfect as far as the timeline for your marathon preparation. I made the mistake this past year of having a training block that was too long, getting ready for the Cleveland Marathon. It was 5 months. It was too long. 3 to 4 months is spot on. So you might actually, Stefano, you might want to just do easy, very easy, light volume, so low weekly mileage or weekly kilometers until maybe December. And again, it depends on when your race is in March. So then you would still have December, January, February, and again, is it early March, late March, but you still would have 3 to 4 months of training. And so therefore, like if you start, what I'm getting at is I would recommend not ramping up your volume too early. If that is the peak race of spring 2020, I prefer to peak in volume for my races basically 6 weeks out from the race, and then hold that peak volume for 2 to 3 weeks, and then start to bring it back down about basically 3 weeks out from a peak race. That's how I do it. And so that would be as far as structuring the volume that you're running. Those are a couple tips. I hope that helps. We could go way further into more details, but I will leave it at that. Thanks for watching from Italia, Stefano, which you're named after a very famous Italian marathon runner, Stefano Baldini. Many of you probably remember him from the early 2000s. He was crushing New York City and many other. Actually, he won did he win the Rome Olympics? No, the Athens Olympics, I think, in the marathon. Okay, moving on. I'm geeking out now. Let's see. So I'm going to keep this anonymous, but this is from a gentleman who I met at the Central Park group run. He says, I'm really happy to meet you today. You told me to email you about sponsorships. Which companies are you considering? And that was a huge topic, and I told him to email me. And so here you go. Basically, my thoughts on sponsorships for me is that I have not necessarily, I'll just be very open. I haven't been approached by New Balance or Hoka or Nike or any of the big companies. And I've said this once and I'll say it again on this vlog. I don't necessarily want a sponsorship because it allows me the freedom to wear whatever I want. Any shoes I want, any outerwear I want. And same goes for food or nutrition. I don't really desire a sponsorship because I like to test all this different gear and running recovery tools for all of you. And who knows, and frankly, I'll just say it, this YouTube channel, DeMoor Global Running, is basically kind of like my sponsor. It's like enabling me to do a lot of amazing things within the running space. So that is my answer about the sponsorships. I'm very happy where things are at. And if you're a sponsored athlete, they can, I didn't really realize this, but they can kind of dictate how much you race, whether it's a lot or not as much. Anyway, I've heard stories from other elite athletes, you are kind of regimented in the types of races you can do and how much racing you can do. So, Amsterdam and New York, not sure I would have been able to do that. So we're going to leave it at that. Good question, and yeah, we're going to leave it at that. Okay, moving on. This is a running shoe question from Gary. Thank you, Gary. He says, I just took up running December 2018 due to how accessible it was, and it worked with his travel schedule. Gary, I'm telling you, when I see the amount of gear that a cyclist needs, or even a swimmer, because you need a pool, running is the best. Isn't it the best, everyone? I mean, you don't even need shoes, but as long as you have shoes, that's really all you need. I guess maybe socks. And you don't even need a watch. You can literally just go run. Gary, I'm with you. Okay, he goes on and says he currently has the Zoomfly 3s, Nike Zoomfly 3, the Escalante 2s, and the New Balance 880 V9s. And he wants to add a couple more shoes to his rotation. Gary, I would recommend the Beacon, New Balance Beacon V1 or 2. Yes, I said it. I prefer the Beacon V1 upper more than the V2. I'm just gonna say it. I don't know. Anyway, the toe box on the V1 I prefer, but it's a good, easy day shoe for you, Gary. And then another one, I'm gonna throw an outlier to all of you. I know this is crazy. Oh my gosh. The A6 Glide Ride is treating me really, really well, everyone. And yes, they're both available down below. But the A6 Glide Ride, it's a neutral shoe with a lot of good support, and it's built so well. The build quality of the A6 Glide Ride, I'm predicting that you could get 5, 6, maybe even 700 miles out of this shoe. It's got just enough, and listen, ASICS I think has been a little too firm of a landing in the past. I haven't worn ASICS in a while, but I think this Glide Ride, I think they're onto something. Now, it's different than, it's totally different than New Balance or Nike or even Saucony to a certain extent, or definitely different than Hoka. It's a little more construction into the upper, into the outsole, but I've already taken my Glide Rides to 50 miles. I will get you the full review once I'm back from Argentina. I know it's crazy, but just go to a running shoe store and try them on. I think you will enjoy them. Thank you, Gary, for the question. Okay, moving on. This is from Chris. He says, I just ran my first New York City marathon. Great to share the streets with you, Chris. It was really an awesome experience and plan on doing many more races in the future. I always see that you train in such a variety of shoes, but race in your Nike Next Percents. How often do you run in your racers before the race? Do you do your long runs in them? Do you just break them in and then put them away till race day? So Chris, I just break them in and then put them away until race day. I don't like to break them in too much. 10 to 20 miles before race day is kind of my rule of thumb. And I think shoes, and maybe some of the veterans out there can confirm this, or maybe not, is that I think shoes since the late 90s, early 2000s have become more nimble. They're just a little more nimble in their construction, and so I don't think you need as much break-in time for running shoes in 2019 for many companies. Maybe not all companies, but many companies. So Chris, I hope that helps. 10 to 20 miles is my rule of thumb. Moving on to AC Adrian on Instagram. He asks, I now have finished my state meet in cross country, congrats, and now taking a break and starting my track training next Monday. Do you have any tips to help improve my times for the mile and 2 mile? AC Adrian, the mile and 2 mile, they are so fast. They're such a fast race, and even compared to a 5K, it's quite a bit different. Yes, you need endurance and stamina and aerobic engine for a mile and 2 mile, but if I was a coach and I was honing in on a mile or 2 mile race, I would seriously, and depending if you're a freshman or a senior, it will vary, but let's say you're a senior, I would say 35 miles a week as far as weekly volume, but really dialed in on running form and leg strength. And I don't mean like squatting in the gym too much, a little bit, but not too much. I was pretty scrawny as a high school. I weighed like 95 pounds my freshman and sophomore year of high school, and then I grew a little bit and I weighed like 110 pounds, but I wish I would have had more strength. And again, not like crazy gym strength, but strength in my legs and explosion in order to work on, kicking people down in the last 200 meters of a mile or 2 mile race. So that would be my and having your coach or somebody that really knows what they're talking about, have them watch your running form so that you're not wasting energy through your running. But it's finding the right person for that can be difficult. I get it. Anyway, I hope that helps, AC Adrian. That would be my 2 cents. Moving on to I Live Simply on Instagram. We're almost to the 10 questions here. He asks, great job on the New York City Marathon. I'm going to try to qualify for Boston 2021, which for his age group is sub 3 hours. Do you think you could do a video specifically on training for a sub 3 hour? Maybe I'll do a video just for that at some point, but he asks, he'd be curious about weekly mileage, speed work, and also if cross training is counterproductive. Definitely not counterproductive. I'll just say that right now. I think cross training is great to stay healthy mostly, not necessarily to gain much aerobic fitness. but just to keep the legs happier and getting that motion in the legs without the pounding. So you get the motion and then you go stretch. You get the motion in the pool and then you go foam roll, or you go to the sauna and stretch. You just to keep those legs as nimble and loosey-goosey as possible, because as runners our legs tighten up so much from the pounding and if we're not stretching enough. So then weekly mileage, I would say, I think you need to be hitting at least, I'm just gonna, gotta be honest with you, and I don't know your history, okay, so keep that in mind, but I would say 70 miles a week. I know that's a lot, but that would be kind of my baseline for a good sub 3 hour marathon. And then he asked about speed work. Yes, speed work is important for the marathon, but making sure that it's not taking away, in my opinion, taking away from your ability to build that aerobic engine first. Again, this is just my opinion, but I see a lot of people training on Strava, and I think that they are putting maybe too much emphasis on speed work, and this is specifically for a marathon race, on speed work over building up their aerobic engine, meaning their long runs, their middle distance runs, their controlled tempo runs. So for me, that's 10 to 13 miles at at what paces? Well, 5:45s. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. But so that's my emphasis, is aerobic over anaerobic. But I am just going to say one more thing, is that I'm learning. If I want to go under 219, or I want to even go faster than 219, I do know that I need to add more speed work into my training. I hope that helps. I live simply on Instagram. You rock. Thanks for being here. William asks, what's all this about Seth and butter? I was late to the party and I'm confused. Laugh out loud. William, basically, here's the quick story, everyone, on butter, is that True Love and I, we appreciate butter. And we really appreciate the butter at Texas Roadhouse. It's like a steak joint here in the United States, and basically the butter that comes with your bread, when you arrive at the table, the butter has like brown sugar and cinnamon mixed into the butter. It's ridiculous. It's way too tasty. And so one time I came home from a race and I walked in the door and I said, True Love, butter my bread, we got the W. We won the race. And so it stuck, and basically we say it now all the time for joy, for rejoicing, for happiness, for good times, and because who doesn't like butter on their bread? So that's the backstory to butter my bread. And yes, it connects to running so well, because us runners, we need some good butter and bread in our life too. So there you go, William. There's the backstory. And then the story really took off in Amsterdam. Just go watch that blog. Just go watch it. Go watch it. All right. Last question. It has nothing to do with well, no, it does have something to do with running, but it's also more the personal side of, I guess, my life, and the money side of my life a little bit, is that maybe 3 people have commented in the last 24 hours about, Seth, why don't you have a Patreon account? And Patreon, for those that don't know, is a way for people to support me financially with like a monthly donation, where you give like $1 or give $5 to the YouTube channel in order to create more videos. And the reason I do not do Patreon is because oh gosh, it's really crazy, but I kind of have a little bit of a business background and business mindset, and I would want to give you stake in the vlog, stake in the company. If it's like, I just think that money, like your hard-earned dollars, I know you're working hard for those dollars, and I would prefer not to. Sorry, hold on. So for supporting this channel rather than Patreon, I prefer to provide you with opportunities to purchase running gear, running shoes that is a tangible, real world good that arrives at your house. And yes, I get a little kickback, a little commission. That's why if you go down to the description, it's a little crazy down there with a lot of different things you can buy. But that is how I prefer to support this channel, to keep the vlog going every single day, rather than just kind of fundraising the channel. Does that make sense? And I could talk for hours on this topic. I love talking business and YouTube and all that, but that's why I don't do it. But I appreciate you thinking about me in that realm of the world. So, okay, that's it. I'm going to go get some food and then go stretch and then go get on an airplane. Come on, everyone. Come on. Here we are in the bathroom of the airplane. I don't know what else to do to close out the vlog, ask the question of the day. Everyone is asleep out there in the main cabin, so here I am. Here we go, question of the day. First of all, I hope I answered as many questions as possible with a decent amount of depth. So that was my hope for today's vlog. We are about halfway to Argentina. We're somewhere over, I think, Ecuador right now. And question of the day, what would be your number one bucket list location in the world to go run a race? I'm not asking what is your number one race, number one race on your bucket list or in your bucket. Instead, I'm asking what is your number one location in the world? Where would you prefer to go run a race? Like, I'd love to go race in New Zealand someday. So that's the question of the day. Thanks for hitting it up down below. You all rock. And Norway too. All right, we're gonna toss it back to a couple vlogs on the right and the left. I can't even think at this point, but I'll find a couple for you all. All right, there you go. Seek beauty, work hard, and love each other. Thanks for being here, everyone. Onward and upward.